Welcome to Đồng Nai Radio and Television Station. Here are the news today. The Prime Minister has just issued Decision 22 on ground rent reduction of 2020 for those affected by the COVID-19 pandemic under the government's resolution number 84 dated the 29th of May 2020. The subjects of the application are enterprises, organizations, households, and individuals that are directly leased land by the state under the decisions or contracts of the competent state agencies in the form of annual land rental payments that have to stop production and business for 15 days or more due to the influence of COVID-19 pandemic. Regarding the reduction of ground rent, a reduction of 15% of the payable land rent of 2020 for the land mentioned above. No cut will be made on the pending ground rent of the years before 2020 and late payment interest, if any. This provision also applies to the cases where the lessee has many different production and business activities, but only stops one production and business activity in the land or parcel of land directly leased by the state. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, last July, the country's trade surplus reached 2.77 billion USD, bringing the accumulative surplus from the beginning of the year to the end of July up to 8.23 billion USD. This figure is much higher than the previous estimation. The import-export turnover in July reached 46.96 billion USD, an increase of 8.5% compared to the June of 2020. From the beginning of the year to the end of July, the country exported 147.6 billion USD, increases by 1.5% over the same period. The import turnover of the country reached 129.21 billion USD, declined by 3% over the same period. Notably, in July, the export value of mobile phones and components increased again, surpassing the group of computers, electronic products to become the commodity group with the highest export value of Vietnam. The governor of the state bank has just submitted a written request to credit institutions and foreign bank branches to promote lending for the development of skilled human resources. Accordingly, it is suggested that credit institutions create conditions for customers to access credit capital following the law, focusing on solving difficulties in credit relations. Moreover, give priority to capital resources with the goal of vocational education and the development of skilled human resources. Along with that, renewing the process, simplifying procedures, publicizing the documents, describe steps to apply for loans, building reasonable interest rates, shortening the time for the appraisal process, creating the most favorable conditions for vocational education institutions and learners to access capital. The United Nations Security Council on the 24th of July rejected a resolution proposed by the US to extend the arms embargo against Iran, which will expire next October according to regulations. According to Xinhua, the US resolution received only 2 votes in favor, 2 against, and 11 abstention. In a statement shortly before the Security Council officially announced the voting results, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo expressed his disappointment at the results. Pompeo wrote on his personal Twitter page that the rejection of the proposal by the UN Security Council to extend the U.S. arms embargo against Iran was a failure. The U.S. resolution received only 2 votes in support, showing that the U.S. has become more and more alone in Iran's nuclear issue since President Donald Trump decided to withdraw the U.S. from the historic nuclear deal that Iran signed with the P5+1 in May 2018. The United Nations Security Council vote comes as US-Iran tensions continue to escalate. The US announced that it had just arrested some oil tankers from Iran, but Iran has denied this information. IRNA news agency quoted Iranian ambassador to Venezuela, Hojat Soltani, as saying that the above information was false and it was the psychological warfare of the US because the sailors on the oil tanker were not Iranian. The owner, also neither of Iran nor the flag on board, has nothing to do with Iran. Western media previously quoted US officials as saying that the administration of President Donald Trump recently arrested 4 oil tankers for Iran who are on their way to Venezuela. These ships were brought to the port of Houston by the US. That is the end of the news today. Thank you for tuning in.